Welcome back to the grand finale. So, as we stand, in terms of the points that we were scoring, 108 reasons, and who's going to take it? The for Gurukulam, the activists of Gurukulam, took it away by half a point, 54.5, while we saying that Gurukulam is not for your child had to concede by just 0.5 points. We had 53.5 and 54.5. It came to the wire at the end of it, but then the Gurukulam activists took home the point. But let's see what's ahead in this journey. Ma?
Yeah, so as we conclude, I think definitely questions from the audience. Also, a little more clarity on, see, as we went through all the points, right? One thing became very clear that um, why only the Gurukulam? Why can't any other methodology or any other system of education or life learning come and claim the same things? It's only true and honest that most people who even institutions that are calling themselves alternative education institutions also can claim the same points. So we also are in a situation where we see many organizations have the name Gurukulam in their title, but does that mean they're actually following the Gurukulam methodology or not becomes a question. So when we were talking about Gurukulam and if it's needed for your child, what does it mean? Collectively, Indian education system, a truly Indian education system, is what we are collectively calling as Gurukulam right now, because that's the most popular word. Also, it comes along with a visualization of probably a rishi's ashrama and a tree and a nature-friendly environment. That's the idea, that the image that comes, imagery. So, what is the Gurukulam system of education? What does a method actually mean? One thing that is common, if the institution is really a Gurukulam, one thing will be very, very, very certain, that the focus there is the growth of the self. Now, it looks as if it's a very abstract term, the growth of the self. What does that actually mean? A learner being taken through the journey of self knowledge in a structured manner is what a Gurukulam truly represents. Anything else does not define it as a Gurukulam. So all the aspects that we spoke about, right? Learning being fun, learning being immersive, play learning being inclusive, and parents being an important part of the entire journey. All of that might have a lot of common intersection points with many other learning systems and also alternative education systems. But one thing that stands apart is structured self-knowledge, the foundations of which lie in the scriptures of Bharata. That is what differentiates a Gurukulam. So the content is going to be that. And when does this content, when do you start imparting this content to the child or facilitating this content to the child? The first years of the child's life, which starts from before conception through pregnancy till 0 to 2 years, till 2 years of age, the child is primed for absorbing the most abstract content. So what does a child at that age, what is a human being at that age up to 2 really want to learn? What is the spirit of that child yearning to learn? Up to 2 years of age, the child is cracking universal codes. So the interest or the affinity of that spirit to learn is to learn what human life is all about, how the human construct is made, how is the mind developed, how do emotions develop, what am I here in this world for, what is my place in the universe, I am in the universe and I'm coming to this planet, why? That's the focus. Then from 2 years up to say 10, 11, that's the age where you just train the child to learn. Learning how to learn is the focus there, which means the introduction of various different methodologies that are then required for this for this child to become a learner. How do you create a learner? How is a learner created? Correct. So we for a long time we've been thinking that helping the brain develop is how you create a learner. But is that the case? Definitely not. How do you create a learner? So then the question comes, what is learning? Now, we saw in the previous session in play learning how beautifully Skanda explained lucidity and play being a state that facilitates that lucidity, and it's a very immersive activity. It's a lucid activity. It belongs to the spirit. It's got nothing to do with the rest of the faculties of the human being. So learning is not just a physical activity. What you see in the physicality is an expression. Learning is not an emotional activity. Emotions play the role of communication and transport. Learning is not an intellectual activity. Learning is not a mental activity. Learning is a spiritual activity. It is forming impressions within you that really what learning means. And when we discussed AI, I think we talked in length about it, how the myth has been busted that it's not a brain that leads you to learn. Those are impressions and algorithms that lead you to learn. So, how are these impressions and algorithms forming within us? Therefore, connection with your own divinity, it could be through metaphysical practices, it could be through anything that are algorithms of the universe. I'm going to use the word yantras now. Any of those patterns and impressions that create a learner, the child is familiarized and conditioned to interact with those patterns till the age of 10, 11, after which the preparedness or the readiness for a spiritual knowledge or self knowledge comes in. And it's after the age of 11 that you begin with who are you? What are you made of? What is your body made of? What is your mind made of? What are your emotions made of? How do all these come together and function together? And how does this functioning lead to this experience which you're calling life? What all things influence that experience called life? How much of it is there in your hand? And what can you do to enhance this experience called life, in which your career is a part, your family is a part, your relationships are a part, your own personal interests, your expressions, your creative art forms, all of these different parts can contribute or are part of your life experiences, but the basic principles of how to enhance life experience is in your hand. This content is the core of what a Gurukulam is. If anybody is teaching this, it's called a Gurukulam. So a temple can be a Gurukulam, your home can be a Gurukulam, an institution can be a Gurukulam, anything can be a Gurukulam as long as this is what is being taught or this is what is being learned. And the facilitation, you see, if Raiva is running a Leela Gurukulam, it means she's facilitating this to happen without creating other things that can be interferences. So a child on this path, like beautifully we're discussing what happens when you get into structured learning of an art form. The spirit of the human part of the art form itself goes away. So every art form has a different method of learning. So a Gurukulam is that which focuses on this content, and any institution that facilitates the receiving and the transmitting of this content, taking care that other things are not there to interfere. So an academic training should not be an interference into this. Other parts of life should not become an interference. That then is a facility called a Gurukulam, but that facilitation can happen even in the house once the content is on track. That is what differentiates a Gurukulam from anything else. So what you see, and today probably what is, widely bracketed as religious practices are not. They're actually learning practices. What are seen as religious symbols of devatas are not. They are learning material. They are learning props. They are the ones that connect us to our divinity within and therefore help us prepare to become learners. So you're born, the Indian system, our scriptures, the wisdom of our rishis tells us very clearly, nobody is born a blank slate. Every human being is born all knowing. And the younger you are, the more senior you are because you're coming with that abstract knowledge. And once you know what you know, then from knowing, moving into learning is the phase called childhood. So childhood is not a phase where you're growing. Growing happens because of the learning. What you already know till 2 years of age, now you're going to know more about it. Knowing more about what you already know is called learning. So you're entering into the phase of preparing how to be a learner You go on full cycle and then you start learning more and more about what you already know. I'll repeat that again. Through pregnancy till the age of 2, whatever you know, whatever you have gathered in your awareness, that is part of your big bank of knowledge. Then you prepare to become a learner, and then you go back and revisit those elements and know more about them. And then you learn how this starts shining in your life. This entire cycle is covered by the Gurukulam. So this is what a Gurukulam methodology is. So if anyone is actually looking for a Gurukulam, these are the questions that you will need to ask. This is what you'll need to keep in mind. That's the only thing that differentiates. Anything else is not a Gurukulam. It might be giving you the same ends as well. It might be achieving the same results as well, but it's not the Gurukulam then. And like everything else in Sanatana Dharma, there's no rigidity to say it's only, it's either my way or the highway. It's nothing like that. Everyone can find their own way. And if the path of life learning and education is rooted on our scriptures and the wisdom of our rishis, then we will call that as well a Gurukula. So the guru forms an important role in that system. And who is the guru or what is the guru? Guru is the learning energy. It's the learning potential. So if you have a physical form of a human being who is in the path of learning, that energy is so contagious that you also start learning. Typically, people say that in a very mainstream classroom as well, right? Go sit next to the child who's a first ranker, as if academic training is something contagious, right? So your company you keep, it has that influence on you, that kind of thing. So guru in a physical form is that influence of learning, in the presence of which you just can't escape but be a learner. You just can't escape it. That energy is so contagious, so infectious, that you also get into, you don't think what they think, but you see how they think. You don't learn what they learn, but you see how they learn in every situation. So if anyone here is choosing to go to an institution which is a Gurukulam, which is led by a particular person or a philosophy or an ideology that they stand for, then your faith better be in harmony with that ideology. Otherwise, it's no use of going there. So every sampradaya can have its own Gurukulam. Every ideology springing from the basis of Sanatana Dharma can have its own Gurukulam. But the content and the methodology, somewhere you will see it all aligns with the same belief system and the same practices that are given to us by our rishis. So that's that about. Is there any other question I need to answer, Bharatji? Like, is that good enough for people to identify what a Gurukulam system is?
Should be. I don't think it can be simplified further.
Right? So yeah, that's what it is. And also, this is the reason why it's not popular. It is not popular because the idea itself that life can be learned with a structure is a very alien one. No one gets it. If you ask anyone what is a curriculum to learn life, just imagine the madness of that idea.
It goes to the point of thing, right? Life is lived and not learned. It's something that it's a myth bursting that happens.
Yes. Indeed, life is learned. And then what is learned is lived to enjoy it to the maximum. Yes, so if you have any questions on that, we can take it.
Chat is open, and if anybody wants to unmute himself and
Yes, if there are any questions which you have answered prior in the past 4 days that we've been talking, then probably we can skip that.
sure.
If there are any questions we haven't taken, we can get into that.
Yes. And for the people who have joined the sessions in bits and pieces, where you haven't been to the whole journey, you may miss out on a few points. If you haven't watched it, I mean, you can watch the videos once it's uploaded. But if you have missed a few points, if there is a question which is already answered, we would appreciate if you can go back and watch those recordings and come back. But otherwise, from the sessions that you've been through already, whatever you have heard so far. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them. So at least on the day one, we had a few people asking what is the definition of Gurukulam, that gets answered. And if somebody is looking at any Gurukulam admission for their children and they want to know the prospectus of what should they be looking for in the Gurukulam, I think this part answers that. If there are any other specific questions. That's a good silence.
Yeah, that's a good silence. And Raiva, if you can share what are the most common questions you get when people call you inquiring about the Gurukulam, what kind of conversations do you have?
Usually, so because I'm aware that when people approach calling a Gurukulam, they can have multiple expectations. It's usually not with the background of self knowledge, though. That those are also there are some parents also looking out for that. Um, so it's first, it's a usual thing, okay, so what's your concept about which philosophy you follow? And then most common, which every parent will ask, is what's your curriculum? So that comes about. Then which grade? Is there a grading system? So as I'm answering as per how Leela Gurukulam runs, it's recognizable. Like once a parent, if a parent is understanding the fact that we do not have grades, we do it sanskara wise. Sanskaras are the wisdom development uh, of children that we follow. Parents who do not question it, I know, okay, they're somewhere in line with what we are doing. Parents who do not get it, I know they're probably looking for something else. So I'm quite open with them on, okay, whether this is what you're looking for. If it's not, I'm not going to convince you. Um, and then there are questions like, there is a huge bracket of inquiries that come in, Ma, because we are also a Gurukulam that does play learning specifically. Is it, are you teaching academics easily? Is that the point? With few shloka classes, yoga classes, Sanskrit classes, that is something that comes in a lot, where it's the same academics being taught easily, and there are some elements of cultural expressions that are therein, and then I have to say, no, that's not it. So that's one set of inquiries, one set of questions that people ask. Another set is about how involved does the parent actually have to be, or what is the need for the parent. Or when I tell it in context of Leela Gurukulam, the admission is for the parent or for the entire family. There's a little bit why the entire family, or what's the concept like. And those people whose hearts are into it, where they're probably seeking for something different, they relate. But it's a long journey for them. I can understand the struggles that they have. There are many a times, one like I think we spoke about this during the podcast also. In the couple, one will be into this, one parent is completely into this methodology, but they are not sure where the other parent stands with this. And there are some people, and usually these parents, these couples where one is in and one is not in, they are very free and open to tell that the other person has, you know a certain idea about either spirituality or it being too religious, or what they think for their child is ideal. This might not be that. So that confusion is also there of self knowledge, spirituality, religion, where what comes into what, how it's viewed outside.
So do you
Some
also get
inquiries,
questions like who is the spiritual leader of this organization, or who is your guru, or which philosophy? Do you get questions like that?
yeah, from a specific bunch, especially those who are looking for um, those who don't see, people who ask me about academics, that's usually more towards special children or children having learning difficulty. The other bracket is almost the people who are looking for something more Indian cultural rooted, something that goes back to our scriptures. They almost 90% of the times want to know who's the leader, what philosophy does the leader follow, how many follow, like not how many followers, but where is this person from, what is that person's story. It becomes very person dependent. They are really not asking me what is the content or the method. They want to know more about who's the apparent source, and what is that person's personality like, what is that person's thought process like. So those people, it's difficult to convey to them that content we are doing the content based on a structure, because for them they feel that structure could also be somebody's bias. So that those set of inquiries also come in. um yeah, that's all that's coming to me right now. Majorly those are the two brackets.
Do you get people who like uh, go scripture specific? Like, do you teach the, like, I'm sure people will ask you questions like, are you from the Advaita background, or are you from this background or that background? But people have this thing also, no? Do you teach the Bhagavad Gita to the children, or what do specific scriptures? Do
They
you get
have this.
inquiries
They
like that?
have this. They have. There's this one person. It was a few years ago. I remember. She asked me, my daughter is already learning the Vedas. Do you also teach the Vedas? And for me, I spoke like it turned into a 1 hour conversation with her. But for me, I could see where they're coming from. One is okay. Once picking any one Veda, reading it shloka by shloka, verse by verse is another type of learning. That is not what we are doing here. But many people ask that with Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Ramayana, Mahabharata, Puranas, and there is another one which I'm missing out. There are four, usually these four come about a lot. Whether these things you are teaching to children, Sanskrit and yoga are on top for anything. It's like the minute they see the word Gurukulam, and in our curriculum page as such, we have not written yoga anywhere. So that's the first question that I get on call. Do they have yoga classes? Do they have Sanskrit classes? Once people get to know a little bit more about our methodology, like after 1 hour into the call or after an orientation or after they read our website, there are then there are the second set of doubts that come about. Is this just looks more like only mental play or just playing with toys? What about physical health? And with our Praishartha age group, our older age group, that whole concept of children's Gurukulam being throughout the week. Why is that so? Then when will they get family time? When will they have social time? You want them to leave all the classes. Why is that? So those set of questions come about. It's funny because the same parent, while they had the first initial inquiry call, they themselves told, प्राचीन काल में जैसे बच्चों को बाहर भेजा जाता था, आप ऐसे कुछ कर रहे हो क्या, रेजिडेंशियल है क्या? But the same parent, second time, once they get to know the timings and everything, they are like, what about the social life? So it's not that they are not aware of it completely, but there is that. I am still when I still talk to people, it's I get where they're coming from, but yeah, probably something I don't have first. I can't relate to first time, because for me, I know the connections of all of it. So yeah, the second time, and then it can go various places. Um, One thing I've noticed is that when one parent is completely into it and the other is not, they kind of feel defeated, or they kind of feel like separated. And then they know I'm young. They know I'm, because my voice only says it out. But still they start sharing things and they're like, sorry, we are sharing this with you. Then it becomes a very genuine talk. And I've noticed that with every admission call, I feel parents just want someone to talk to at times. Really just genuinely share about, this is what is happening to my child. I, as a parent, this is what I want for my child. All of it is well meaning. But I do know that probably they don't know. They know they're looking for something, but they probably don't know what exactly they're looking for or where to look at. Those are the two, that's the two kind of senses that come into me. This person is really looking for something. Probably they don't know what, and sometimes they know the what, but then they don't know where or how. That's the sense that comes across.
So these sessions end up like personal counseling sessions, is it?
I try my level best that it doesn't, because it's difficult. First of all, it's the first time I'll be speaking to this person, but I don't know how that connect happens where even I know what exactly they are talking. I think that's why it happens, because I can relate to exactly what they are saying. So they start sharing more and more and more. And I have to keep telling, we are not a solution for all this. Like if you're having this problems, we can't solve this. If you want this, if you want, self knowledge for your children, them to become self learners, if you want all of that, then we are for your children. But then it has to be a journey of your entire family. So I try my level best. It doesn't go into that personal counseling or a shoulder to cry area, but sometimes it's just unavoidable, because they are genuinely asking admission inquiry, but the other things just come along,
And
which
how
I'm
long does
sure.
it last usually, each call?
Usually never one call. First call, depending on where the parent is, how much exposure they have to NIOS, open schooling, Gurukulam, self-knowledge in general. First call can range from 15 minutes to 45 minutes. The second long call can be anywhere. It's never gone lesser than 1 minute, 1 hour, and it can go up to 3 hours. The longest I've had is 2 hours, 45 minutes.
On
And
a
it
single
was
call. On a single call, is it?
on a single call on a single day. And this was my second call with that person. And I got to know everything, how the child was conceived, what happened, because they just started. They genuinely cannot tell me why they want the Gurukulam without the entire journey. So I have no other choice. I'm like, okay, I'll be asked. So what happens is how it ends up, how the backstory starts usually is they ask me something specific to how we are running the Gurukulam. I answer with our methodology, that self knowledge, everything that we spoke about, a gist of that. And then I don't know what clicks in them. They're like, see, this is what we are looking for. Because then the conception story starts. That this is my first child, and this happened, then second child, and this happened, and this happened. Then we had child had physical issues. Then there were learning difficulties, but I know my child is smart. All that happens, and then end up, that's why we are looking for something. I think the shortest admission call I had was for 45 minutes.
Really?
Yes. That was the shortest.
And
Shortest with the most.
sorry,
Huh.
shortest and the most?
And the most, like, this parent was already into it. This parent knew. This parent was just taking out points to talk to the spouse. I could clearly make it out. Like, the questions that were being asked, I knew she is completely convinced. She just wants to have pointers to talk to the spouse. So that call was the most fun call because it was like we were strategizing together. I felt like a friend, not like a counselor. Yeah, that was the most fun admission call I've had.
Okay. And did this 2 hour 45-minute person finally take a decision or not?
No, no. And the reason, she's still in touch with our group.
Okay, okay. Hmm.
This person is still in touch with our group. They still come to sessions. They do all of that. But that call just, and that in fact, that person still is not in mainstream. But neither are they anywhere else. But it's not even that they're homeschooling completely. So they're somewhere in the middle.
Hmm. That's an
And many a times it doesn't matter. To be completely honest, um, it's a long journey for Leela. How we have got Leela Gurukulam parents, it's never been 2, 3 phone calls and then the parent comes in.
Hmm.
The only thing that happens is the parent who has spoken to us, they remain with us. They might not completely jump in full time, but they, when they have doubts about their own educational steps, because we also do other sessions, it's not that we are only running a Gurukulam. We are talking about the methodology, all of it all together. They keep coming back. But yeah, every time when it comes to specifically, okay, are you opting for the Gurukulam? Something or the other comes. When if the child is older, my child is already familiar with the environment she is in. Which for me, that one point, I'm like, you as a parent can take the decision. But then it's something in the parent which they look at the child and feel it's child. We don't want to make that child that uncomfortable, which is also something we spoke about during our podcast, that comfort factor comes in. So there's one set of those parents who have an older child. They really want to put them in here, but for them, the child already expressing comfort in one system or in one place is the point which doesn't want them to. They don't want to take out the child and put them into a new place. That is one common. And then second is family. Most of them, we have to convince our spouse, we have to convince our entire kutumba before they can jump in. um and the most simple ones are distance, though them I like the most. It's too far away for us, but then my doubt was, you knew it was far away even before the 2 calls you made to me. So it's not that we changed our location between our 2 calls. So those ones, they are simplest, but they are the most. I'm like, why did not know where Rajarajeshwari Nagar is before calling me? That happens, but yeah.
So finally, why do you think they make an enquiry call?
And I have thought of it many times. I feel they are somewhere looking for something else. I actually, in my mind, have brackets. If I can share how I think about it. When a person calls, I'm usually trying to figure out this is from my calls, this is from my various calls with various parents and talks from various parents of what I figured out. Some of them know that their child is struggling with something and want something easier. That is very simple. They are not looking for, let's say, self knowledge or Gurukulam or culture. Whatever the child is already doing, they probably don't want the child to be bullied or pressured. Or they want the child to have something new. In the sense, a new methodology, but probably content being math, science, and all of that that they are comfortable with. So that's one set of parents. So for them, the only thing I can think of is a child's struggle is making them look at different Gurukulams or at altered schools. Ours being play school with no game school with no exams could be one reason why they inquire. Then there is one set of parents who are really looking for a Gurukulam, and actually this is a very significant bit. They're presently already in a system which might be calling themselves culturally rooted or a Gurukulam, but they are still they have some missing. The parent feels there is a missing link, so they call up. But these parents are calling up every other place. Is something that I figured out. So they, I think them, I don't know. I think it's a personal seeking, not really the child. Is what I have. My sense of it is it's a personal seeking. They're finding there at the child is already in one place doing its own thing, but they probably are still looking for their own answers somewhere else. And then there is one set who has learning difficulty. Now, for them, the issue is sometimes parents themselves don't want to accept the child has a learning difficulty. So they try to go all over the bush that, my child can do it. They almost try to convince me that the child can learn. It's funny because as a Gurukulam, we know every child learns. So that set of parents, I guess, are just looking for a place for this child to find home because they are nowhere. Altered schools tell them this. The altered schools probably are not suiting them. Mainstream is definitely not suiting them. So these children who have probably a very extreme case of learning difficulty, I am not talking about autism, a specific kind of learning difficulty. They, I think, they are just trying to find a place for their child or to feel comfortable that okay, my child can also have a place. These are the three different things that are coming on top of my mind right now. Bharatji, Notanma, I know you guys have also had calls, but I've never shared about my inquiry calls with anyone because it's just something that happens between me and the parent. If you have something to add on, you can ask because I'm thinking and sharing as and when asked. Like, I don't have it's triggering. Like when you guys are asking me is when I can trigger and share.
I think most of the points that you covered are something that you've also heard of very commonly, right? As parents, others asking us, what does your child do? Where do they go to? What do they learn? How are they assessed? These are the common questions that they get. And what kind of academic structure are they learning? Which board are you associated with? Is this something that can be accepted as a overall in the society, right? In terms of they being prepared for higher studies or getting into a job reality, does this facilitate those things? So those are the kind of questions that usually come. And when we speak about NIOS, where our children are a part of registered through the government of India's HRD, NIOS is a thing. That is when they say, "Oh, okay, we didn't know about it." So that is when the one kind of a comfort comes in. But then again, because of
That you're legal.
yeah, exactly. Also there is a now that you mentioned about the legal aspect of it, a lot of parents think that homeschooling is illegal. You have to send a child to a school registered because they don't have that uh, awareness about NIOs and you being a legally authorized parent to open school your child. That is another factor that people don't know that I can do this. So that comes in. Yeah. And when we speak about examples of what the elder generation of the Gurukulam students have done their 10th, 12th, and then pursuing their bachelor's degree now, they get kind of a answer to those things, which are the academic part, the legality of it, and all of that. But then again, it still goes through that. they having to have the understanding of what exactly are they looking for. Am I looking for another place where I can, like you mentioned earlier, my child can learn academics easily, like a shortcut, or am I looking for something academic plus everything else? So that is a unclear thing that I have had a lot of inquiries or people asking me about what we see as parents.
Yeah, when you share that, I realize in all my long calls, at least half an hour goes into explaining what NIOS is.
Yeah.
Is it a
Yeah.
book? How does it work? How can you directly write your 10th? That takes up a huge part. And another thing which while you're sharing, I remembered is so because I myself have gone through it. A lot of questions come personally also. Okay, we have been through it. First thing they ask, are you able to make friends? All parents. Is your social life okay? And I'm like, though I don't talk much, I can come across as a very social person because of all the festival celebration, everything that I keep doing. So yeah, that is one common thing that I see. Are you able to make friends after your Gurukulam journey when you went to a college or when your other batchmates went to a college? Were they comfortable with the learning, the new way of learning? And they usually talk about you also, because my story I cannot share without your story. So there, your mother took a very brave decision. We don't know whether we can be as brave as her. That one point comes across.
You covered most of the points.
Most of the
The
points.
other thing that comes to my mind is when, they usually ask me what are the senior children doing now who have passed out of the Gurukulam, and otherwise, what are the career prospects? That's another line that is touched.
Which means in so many years, there's no variety in the questions that people ask. It's the same questions again and again.
Yeah.
So if all of us sit and list it together, we'll get all the questions that a parent might ask. And when all these questions are answered, they still won't get into the Gurukulam. Right? Yeah. So there's something going on there.
Mhm.
Maybe when you don't get answers to everything is when you subscribe to a system.
Yeah,
No,
it's just getting used to what is happening around them over so many years. So this is something, new. This is new domain for them. But yeah.
And there are many of them who genuinely cannot differentiate between a Gurukulam or somebody using the word Gurukulam just for probably teaching the expression part of it versus a self-knowledge based Gurukulam. People genuinely don't know the difference. So then when we put self-knowledge, family empowerment at the center, it's really confusing for them. Because of the parent, and because I've got this from admission calls, if the child is going to come learn yoga, everything, why should I also sit and teach? Why should I have my parent assignments? And for me, I'm like, how education works till a certain age, the child is going to learn life from you only. I
there's
can
no
teach the
other
child maths.
source. There's no other source for learning for a child apart from the parent till the age of 10 or 11. No institution, no book, no video, no what do you call spiritual mentor, no nothing of nobody can teach the child what it learns from a parent, starting from the time of conception, through pregnancy, through infancy, through toddlerhood, till the mind starts developing at a pre-puberty, pre-adolescence age. Till then, parents are the only source, irrespective of which place you send the child. What they learn is only directly proportional to what the parent is. Period. That is one of the basics of Sanatana parenting. And Raiva, the struggle that you can have there with the questions is because that idea is not there. When we tell a parent, when you learn, let's say you're learning Bhagavad Gita, that knowledge and that wisdom is changing your child. And people just can't grasp that concept of how me learning something is going to become my child's knowledge. That idea that the connection, like, a pregnant woman will never ask what I'm eating, how does that nourish my baby, because physically the umbilical cord is there. But the emotional, mental, and spiritual umbilical cord doesn't get cut off till that time. And when it does get cut off, and when they have to become independent individuals, the same parent feels hurt. So while the cord was there, what did you feed in? The mother delivers physically at the end of the period of pregnancy, but the father is delivering the personality into adolescence. The personality that a child is takes birth from the father's mind. So what all nourishment or to that mind is being given by the dad? The emotional, the spiritual, where again both the parents play a part. So that idea itself is not there. How do you talk? So yeah, that's a challenge.
To add on to it, okay, if okay, the child is gonna learn from me, but how can life be taught? Like how can you? There are no lesson plans for it. So that becomes the next level. Ki, okay, child will learn through me, and then connect. For in our case, connecting it back to play. That how can me playing a game with my child at home help my child learn something life based through me? So it becomes so complicated.
It's very
Where
confusing for the mind to grasp. And this is not just of the parent. Actually, this has been a perpetual question throughout. Like, actually, if you notice, every industry around, like, every single industry, there has been development. Education is the only industry which has remained the same from the 1800s. And each time there has been a lot of research which has gone in this, and each time they have arrived at this, that life learning is absolutely important. And they could just point it back to I mean, of course, because it's the Westerners who are doing it, they go back to how Socrates taught Aristotle, who taught Socrates taught Plato, who taught Aristotle, who taught Alexander. So they are convinced that this is the way to learn life, but it's not scalable at all. So therefore, that development has stopped. But yeah, what the world doesn't realize is
We have
our
called
rishis have
Vishwa.
already done it for us.
Yeah, we have called Vishwaguru for a reason. Our rishis have cracked what life learning is and what is a structure and how it can be replicated in every home, yet the life experience can be very unique for each person. So the
Exactly.
number of people who come in, yeah, like Raiva said, no, you're so brave, you took this decision for your child and all of that. And then I have to tell them, I think you are brave. I don't have the guts to give 24,000 hours of my child life into a system that says that I'll train your child only for one thing. That one thing, which is academic training, is very important. I'm not undermining what schools do. In fact, I've been a teacher trainer. I have a lot of respect for teachers. My mother's been a principal and a headmistress. So I know that system of academic training has been the ultimate path in which people have got their bread and butter for years. And we Bharatiyas are not trained कि हम जिस थाली में खाना खाते हैं उसी में छेद नहीं करते हैं हम. So that's not the thing that I'm doing. But it takes a lot of courage. I don't know how a parent can find so much courage. I applaud parents who have the courage to take 30,000 hours of their child's lifetime and dedicate that many hours for a system of training, for only one system of training, whether, just point towards one, without a guarantee of it giving a job at the end of it, and brilliantly ending up, if I take an average of 1.5 lakhs per annum, if you look at the private institutions and how much a parent spends, and you are ready to spend 1,500 rupees per hour to do this to your child, that is for me bravery. It takes guts to do that. It takes guts for parents. 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning, that small little child, father also still got the toothbrush in his mouth, dropping that kid off, and 8 hours, and then managing that entire system for so many years, having no idea and having absolute uncertainty of what is at the end of it. It takes guts. Yeah, so I think that way, very, very brave parents we have got, with nobody going and questioning anything back. No one has ever questioned one textbook. We find it in the social media that when any absurd content comes about in a textbook, how parents across the world actually go and catch the school by the collar and ask them, right? How many, how can you take this content into the school, and this is not what I want my child to be learning. But we have the biggest population of parents who are sending children to a system and never go and question what is written in the textbook. What power does it take for a parent not to do that? If a book is telling my child that your only identity is that you're a piece of flesh which has a unique DNA, and no parent till today has gone and objected to it. It's brilliant how this is possible. That there's not a single objection of, why this is being taught to my child, why it's being delivered like this. That demand hasn't risen at all about how are you getting my child to memorize the content which I don't want my child to memorize. So we've been a nation of, what do we call, conformist parents. I think if not courage, I don't know what it is, to be able to surrender your child to a system in which you don't even know the faces or qualifications of the people who are writing that textbook. You don't know who is sitting and making that board, on the basis of what and on what parameters. It's not, definitely not the development of the brain, definitely not how a child develops emotionally, definitely not how a child develops mentally, definitely not how a child develops physically. Then what development of my child creates the parameter for a set of people to decide that this is what my child has to study at age 6? It behoves me that a nation of such a big population and not a single person has filed an RT to find out on the basis of what is this made. I don't know who's making my child's curriculum. I don't know who's writing my child's textbook. I don't know whose ideas and principles my child is taking. I find people calling in for Gurukulam education to Raiva asking who's the founder, whose ideas is it, whose philosophy is it. But no one goes and asks that to a school, that who's writing that textbook, who's writing that history, whose idea or opinion is it. So such a large population of parents who are okay committing to a system where they have no idea whose opinions and philosophies are my children studying for the rest of my life. If a parent doesn't need to know that to commit 24 to 30,000 hours of their child, I think that's a very brave thing to do.
I don't know if it's called bravery, but for me, it feels like helplessness.
It's you have to stick to the herd, right?
It's just conforming to the norm that is around. It's compliance that we spoke about.
Compliance. And there are so many parents who don't want it, so they take their own route and they've gone against the herd now. But if you ask those parents what should be in the curriculum, what is the curriculum of life, they are also of the very strong opinion that life can only be lived, that it can't be taught with structure. So you break away from this and you get into another trap. So yeah,
Yes.
I think Raiva has a first-hand experience of talking to people who have already taken away from the mainstream schooling system and have a different idea. Like Raiva, exactly that's what she was describing. They want something, but they don't know what and they don't know where.
So much so that when we had an offering 2 years ago, I think, where we offered to create customized curriculum for children who are probably homeschooling or going to academic schooling, but parents would want a customized curriculum for any aspect of their life through play learning. And we'll create the curriculum and give. And for those inquiries, when I used to ask the parent, okay, what is it that you want your child to learn? Because we have to create curriculum accordingly. 90% of them didn't have an answer. They want something customized, but when I ask what learning do you want me to customize for your child, they're really lost. They're like, "आप क्या करते हो? आप बता दो एक बार. You tell me what and all can my child learn. I'll pick from there." And I'm like, what as a parent do you want? What do you really want your child to learn?
I mean, the answer expectation was something like, I want my child to learn, let's say, patience, or tell me something else, a leadership, something that what do you want your child to learn?
We had, to help them out, we had 4 categories, academics being one, behavior being one, there were 2 other categories, and we had put examples in. So I told them, okay, refer to that and tell me. And when they look through that, they're like, मेरे को तो सब चाहिए. And I'm like, then you join the full-time Gurukulam, because that's what we are doing. Everything I can customize one, like we're writing one entire curriculum and giving across. But yeah, then they're like, नहीं ये मेरे को ये सब चाहिए, पर I want. They are not able to say this is specifically what I want. They want something different. They want something made for their child, but they don't know what.
That's again another common question that I ask people when they said, I want to do something for the child, right? What do you want for your child? There are 2 things that comes. I want them to have a good life and they should be happy. Right? If that is what you want for your child, what is your plan to getting them towards it? Right? So that is something that nobody has an answer for. And then again, I think there was also another comment that came on the chat. People think of having a good job, a paycheck means good life. So that's the only thing that they can put their finger on and say, okay, this is what it is. But then a lot of people who have millions in their accounts are still not happy with it. They're still seeking for something. Still saying that if not for this, I would have been doing something else. I wish I could do that. So still that happiness quotient is missing. And what exactly is it that you're looking for is still a question mark. Like you mentioned, because it feels like I want all of these things so that I can be happy, which does not include a topic or a subject from the textbooks. If I teach you all of these things, if you are weak in physics while you were growing up learning in a school, if I make you a master in it, will you be happy now? So no, I don't want that. I want something else. So that is I think the 4 categories that you are speaking about, that is what it is, but I cannot put my finger on one thing because I want the whole of it. That is, I know it, but I don't have the vocabulary to speak or the acceptance to understand that that's what I need. Either of it.
And the 4 categories were very simple. If I remember, academics, behavioral changes, thinking skills, culture. And anything under that, anything that your child needs, to the extent that, if there is a death in the family and if there is a bereavement process, and would you like to support your child through that? Or let's say you're going through a separation and you want to help your child somehow, learn how to deal with the situation of being with a single parent. We can develop something for that. So it all sounds nice for them to hear, but they just can't believe that there can be a structured curriculum for the things that they have learned in the most difficult way, experiencing it. That idea itself that everything abstract is uncertain and it doesn't have a structure, because the opposite of abstract is not that it's predictable. The opposite of abstract is that it is engageable. So that we can engage with something like that. No parent came up and said, I want to teach my child what love is or what happiness is. Because they don't have an idea that this can be learned.
Yeah, there's a comment which has come in chat from a participant. The current parents are conditioned by the regular academic systems, so we don't know what we want for our child. Hopefully that has been answered over the 4 days of presentation, Shruti ji. Hopefully, people get to know. It puts things into perspective. And we can begin from there.
That by itself is a great assignment for a parent to just sit and write what you want for your child. Because what it's very self-limiting To say that, okay, I might want my child to be happy, but there's a participation of child, and then there's destiny, and there's uncertainty, and all of that. So when we don't have an idea that this can be actually learned with a structure, then we don't know if we should be wanting it. Is it practical to want that, a curriculum that can teach my child happiness? Right? So yeah, that's where it comes. So that's where I think that though you're one, but still I feel that no, Gurukulam is not for any parent who can't even make that list.
That
If you
I'll have
can't,
to agree with you.
if you
Absolutely.
can't put that list down, then the Gurukulam is not for your child.
Mhm.
And
Yes,
personally, another struggle. Sorry, Hama.
no. I was about to say, yes, my child who's running a Gurukulam.
Yes. So one struggle which I have, a parent who's newly coming in, who probably is just freshly looking for something, or doesn't have exposure to those many things, or probably has not fixated their mind to one place and is are openly accepting that they're in the exploration phase, are much more easier to talk to. The parent calls that are most difficult for me are people who already have an idea and another definition of guru, the word Gurukulam, already have another definition of the word guru, already have a very different definition of the word spirituality, and have a different definition for everything that is associated with it. For them, Puranas already mean something else, Panchakoshas already mean something else, Pramanas already mean something else. So that becomes very difficult because introducing something new is still easy. But few of those parents are not even open to this acknowledge, like they are not open to the fact that okay, it is there, but it can have another definition also. And this is the definition through when we look from the lens of education, this is how we can look at it. So those specifically become very difficult because now what if the I think we spoke about that in one of the podcast episodes. If Gurukulam word itself wasn't there, if it was not popular, and then we tried to introduce Gurukulam, it would have been still easier as compared to it now already having an association, because we ourselves in our batch faced it. We are Gurukulam students. Oh, that do you wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning? We sleep at 4 a.m. at days where we have not seen the morning sun for few weeks together. Sometimes that's how we live. But oh, you wake up at 4 a.m. Do you guys have a banyan tree? Those are the kind of questions that we have got from normal relatives and friends. Like they are seeing us dressed in modern clothes. Still they are asking that question on our face. Do you eat once a day? We'll be eating sadhya in front of them. No, it doesn't matter. Do you eat once a day? That's the question that's coming across. Because I think just the word is associated with, it's already been given a definition popularly. So now telling that, okay, this is what the Gurukulam methodology means, then it calls for somebody who's open and adaptable to having different point of views for the same thing. And that training itself is not given in the upbringing. Yeah, it becomes really sometimes after those calls, I just need a break.
Mm.
Like
I agree.
there'll be a meeting just after the call, and I'll just put in the group, guys, I just finished a parent call, please give me 15 minutes extra. And they all empathize with me. They're like, आराम से एक break लेके आजा, क्योंकि you would have just gone everywhere around the place trying to tell what you are trying to do. So yeah, that way having a good supportive team is really nice.
It's ironical that that same stereotypical thinking is so hard to get by also over here on one end, and on the other end it's the blockage which stops people from venturing or learning about the system also. So it's on two sides like that.
Yeah, tough one. So yes, let's then conclude on that note. Our team, your team, the for Gurukulam team is the team that won this by zero point 0.5 or 1 point, right? Just 1 point. But yeah,
Yeah.
to be from Bharata and to have this and to win by 1 point is very sad. It should have been a clean sweep.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel like a win. So
Yeah. If this is
it's
Bharata,
not a- yeah.
if this is really Bharata, then you should have had a clean sweep.
True.
And if that's where everybody is, then I think you should not confuse the child. Gurukulam is definitely not for your child.
And if all of this stereotypical thing is of nobody's fault, if it's all coming from a system that is framed us into what it is, and we are all coming back from a structure that has made us this way, I think as a Gurukulam activist, I think the only way you will be able to pull in more people is to go back to the roots from where people are getting these ideas. And like my spiritual mother, my guru keeps telling, change the classroom, change the content, change the country. That's the
Change
only
the
way to
country.
work.
Yeah. Exactly.
My stole your words,
Quoted your words.
quote unquote.
Oh, it's all
Meera Shivanetra.
everything done seriously. I'm telling you, there's nothing new anyone can tell. There's nothing new anyone can write. Everything that ever can be told or written has been done by our rishis. We are only taking it and just presenting it in a new context. There is no copyright, intellectual property right. Anybody can take. जो भी देना था, जो भी लिखना था, जो भी बोलना था, बोल चुके हैं हमारे ऋषि. And we are just inheriting it because we are born here. How lucky we are that we have just inherited it. That's it.
Yeah.
I don't find, I mean, it's like it covers the entirety of what a human being will ever need, had ever needed, anything that a human being needs. But just that one step, right? Like just a small, simple thing. You're writing a book called Advaita Vedanta for children, and written for children from 6 to 10 years. Let them at least build the mind and the body before they reach that place. There is an age in which it is given. It becomes so offensive for people when you say that. When you say Panchatantra is for adults, it becomes so, no, that is only for teaching moral stories to children. So it ends there, that something special about it goes there. Those are the small things, right? To say that a parent's narrative is making something, your parent's narrative is making who you are. Physically, emotionally, mentally, it's directly affecting you. A learning parent is the greatest asset for a child. A learning, evolving parent. And yeah, exactly what Bharaji said. I'm going, that's perfect. You have to change the content, change the classroom, change the country. The greatest effect is coming from there. And I think, yeah, with that, it's not yet time for Gurukulam, but we keep this podcast, let it be etched into history now. Yes, there were at least a bunch of 5 people who called it out. And whenever later I don't know when, probably we'll never see when, but whenever it is back, this method is back, which definitely has to be the way humanity is going and we are progressing. There's no other way. There's no other way that can survive. It has to be this. Yeah. And when that happens, these voices will come up, right?
Yes.
Naam ghum jayega, chehra bhi badal jayega, but the awaaz will remain, right?
Yeah.
And Jyotirma, during your talks, right, you always had that one parent. I'm looking for that one parent who's
I'm still searching for that one parent.
Yeah. Though we are a Gurukulam ourselves who had a podcast on 108 reasons why Gurukulam is not for you. If you find that one parent, we are there for them.
Absolutely.
I will be that one parent. Okay. I will be that one parent. And I will tell my daughter, run the Gurukulam. Nobody wants the Gurukulam. No parent will come for admission. Run the Gurukulam because you know what? It's worth it.
It is.
That's the seva you're doing to the rishis of Bharata. Do it. Because what gives you earnings and what keeps your finances going, right, is grace. Somebody somewhere will just call you and tell you, you know what, driver, continue, I'll support you. That will happen. So run it because it's worth it. That's it. Run it because you're manifesting that idea and holding on to it for humanity. 100 years from now, when someone will want to do a research on ancient Indian education, you will become that ancient they are researching on. So make sure you record this and leave it because you will become that ancient. And that will happen. So run it. Run it and fail at it. You wanted that one Gurukulam parent. No, that's me. I'm telling you that. Is that a note we can end that happily?
Yes.
Somber. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, everybody. Thank you for joining us. This great, great celebration that we have. Yeah. I guess when we go live again, you all will be there with us. And we keep doing stuff like this. And yeah, thank you. Thank you all. Please do join us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. And if any part of this resonated with you anywhere or through the 4 days, do share it.